Hey YouTube, welcome back to Welding with Grandad. What we're going to do is do some beginners courses for each process, each welding process. MIG, MAG, CO2, semi-automatic, which includes cord wire and gasless. So MIG is argon, MAG is when you've got active gas in the argon. We'll do with some TIG, and we'll do MMA, stroke stick, also oxyacetylene. And what we'll be covering is the 4 joints types that you come up with. This one here, the closest one, is a closed corner. That one next to it is an open corner. I've tried to denote, there's a gap there. There's a fair gap there. 1 mil, 1.2 mil or something. Open corner. Closed butt, literally a straight line. And an open butt, there's a gap there. Now, these ones with gaps, you'll have to put tacks, a couple of tacks, at least 1 or 2. Those to save the gaps closing up. Then the fillet joint, T-piece, and the lap joint. I tend to use this more for demonstrations because it's good, you know, it's better to film. It's easier to film. And then what you have to remember is these can be done flat, horizontal in the air, vertical, there's overhead as well. There's also inclined. So that's that. What I'd like you to think of is, what's a good weld? I'll think on that. So what I've decided to do is each joint is do half of it with gasless, flip him over, and half of it using solid wire. Using these 2 machines, the Andeli for the dip transfer, it does a nice one, and then the Timbuk for shoving out the cord wire. So what I can do is have 2 torches resting there, and then pick one up, do half a weld, and then switch over. Right, questions about what's a good weld. I wasn't going to retire, but I'm 75. I sold all of my equipment. 2 AC DCs, a DC TIG, 3 MIG sets, and a plasma cutter. Tried to sell the compressor, but nobody'd have it. But the one little MIG was a 130 amp BOC Chibora, Italian made, 22 years old, 23 years old, still like brand new, trained all the grandchildren on it. And so I sold it to a guy, and when he got here I said, can you put me a weld down? What you normally do. And that's what he did. I think he's been watching YouTube. So I did a demonstration and did that one, and then he proceeded to do that one. So what I will say is I used to be a welding instructor. I was a welding instructor for 9 years, so I tend to know a little bit about what I'm talking about and hopefully pass it all over. But anyway, what's a good weld? One that meets the requirements or fit for purpose. And that's not something I've made up, that's out the British Welding Institute. What's a good weld? One that meets the requirements or it's fit for purpose. So obviously that guy, that's fit for his purpose. But that would cause a low distortion, waste of gas, waste of weld metal. So, see you on the next one. Using, and it's called a multi-process machine. 40 years ago we used to call them MTSs, MIG, TIG and sticks. But yeah, so this is what they look like. There's the on-off switch. Now, because this has been running for 80 seconds, that's switched off. So, if you're new to this, there's a 1 kilo reel of wire. It will take a 5, and you feed the wire through into the inlet guide to the rollers, into the outlet guide to the MIG torch. So that feeds through, and then these things are what drive these. It's quite nice. It's got a geared wheel. The only thing is it's a little bit restricted here. But yeah, that's the way the wire feeds through. And what you've got up there is a button. You press that and it feeds the wire through like we just saw then. And when you do that, there's no current flowing. It's quite good. And then what happens, that goes into the torch. These are called Euro connectors. I'm old enough that these just came out when I started in sales with BOC. So that flat area there, the big flat face, that's where the current's picked up. That is where the wire goes down. These two little things here are the trigger switch. That one there is where the gas goes down. So the gas flows down the outside of where the wire goes, reaches there, and comes out through those little holes there. Now, if you're doing gasless, you can leave that off. But to be honest, you pull the trigger, all of that's live. So I prefer the nozzle on. I'll just squash that on, I'm doing it one-handed. And that's the way it is. And then what you do, you work with your wire protruding about 1/4 of an inch or slightly more. Now, because I pressed the button, that's poked out. But that wasn't live when it happened. If I pull the trigger now, that's live. And what's good about this machine, if you do pull the trigger, oh, it's not doing it. It stops. So you can't feed, like if I put that down, it was resting on something, you won't feed 1/2 mile of wire out and it strikes up all over the bench. So it's got a trigger switch, you pull the trigger, you can set that to on, off, or you can click it on and it stays on, and then you click it again to go off. It's called 2T and 4T. And then what you can do then, lose that MIG torch, you can have a thing called a spool-on gun on this one. Now, I didn't buy this with the package, I'd already got it from a previous machine, from Static Art. So it's the same connectors, but you don't have wire going down that centerpiece. You've got the trigger and the gas. And you put your small spools in there. They're meant mainly for aluminium or difficult to get to places. These can be as long as you want. It just carries the current and the gas. Same thing there, trigger. There's your rollers, which you have a tension adjuster, which I didn't cover over there. And that one lets the wire through. And then you have a straight gun. So that's, yep. So, and then this is the electrode holder, which goes with it. So that's the stick part. And then this is the TIG torch that comes with the machine. And there's a little packet with other bits that you can have longer tungstens on. But if anyone's interested, I'll get that going later on. And I'll do some stick as well. I'll even get that thing going. But because it's a cheap one, it's very, very temperamental. I mean, look at that. It's very delicate. So, I don't think there is. The only thing with this is you have to pull that off. And then I don't think I've covered nozzle flows. So I'll just pause.